Hey, everybody. Robin McCoy, Texas Realtor with Keller Williams, and welcome to another episode of Relax, I Got This. And we are going to talk new construction with this spring market about to come on and all the shifts and changes that have happened over the last 6 months. We want to get the pulse of the new construction market here in the DFW area. So stay tuned for Megan Reeves with Pacesetter Homes.
A real estate transaction is potentially the largest investment we make in our lives. Whether you're buying and selling your personal home or investing in real estate, you need the knowledge to make the right decisions. Get ready. Robin is a Texas realtor and has the experience to give you the information you need to make the right decisions. Welcome to Relax, I Got This with your host, Robin McCoy.
Hey, everyone. It's Robin McCoy, Texas Realtor with Keller Williams, and welcome to another episode of Relax, I Got This. We have a returning guest today. This is Megan Reeves of Pacesetter Homes, and we're going to talk about new construction because new construction is really a thing. And she is, because it's, the Metroplex has grown.
Mm-hmm.
It has grown. So
It's
welcome back, Megan. Welcome back.
Thank you so much for having me back. It's a pleasure.
So the last time we spoke with you, I think was like in November, December, and you were closing out in Melissa and you moved over to Lavon, to Elavon community, which has been like, I've been watching you on Instagram and they are flying out the door.
Yeah, it's kind of been crazy. I am very grateful for it. I was mentioning to you earlier that I sold more homes in January than I did my entire first year in new home sales. It's
Okay,
like the faucet has turned on.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's where our market is going. We were talking just briefly a moment ago that, if you're considering a home in 2023, you really need to start getting some of your facts and figures together now, because I think we both agree, both new construction and resale is going to get really busy here in a month or so.
Yep. I know there's a lot of fear mongering in the media right now about, oh, the market's going to crash, the sky is falling. But in reality, I believe that there's a very short window of time right now, while builders are still offering incentives, while competition is definitely there, but it's not at the levels that we've seen for the last 2 years.
Right. Right.
If I had $1 for every prospect that I've seen lately that has told me, well, we almost bought a home right before COVID, and then everything went crazy and we put our plans on the back burner for a few years, and now we're back out looking again. Seems like that's who most of my buyers are right now. People are coming back into the market.
Yes, they got priced out when, they didn't do it during COVID for whatever reason they had.
Yeah.
Then after that, we always just call it during COVID. It's like it was this moment. Everybody knows what we're talking about. And then they were ready to do it. The interest rates went up over last summer. And so it might have priced a lot of people out, or they didn't want to do the new construction because it was taking so long and there were everything, we all know what the shipping troubles were during that entire time. So there were no definites on anything, and it was very crazy. But now maybe they've saved their money so they can get back into it. But like you just said, we've got a small window of opportunity where that people can maximize the opportunity at a new construction.
And even beyond financially and having more money saved and all that stuff is, of course, very important and necessary. But I think there's also been a mental shift that's been necessary, especially when rates went up and people were it was sticker shock.
Yeah.
And they had to have a little bit of time to come to grips with the new normal of the market.
Right.
And understand that it's probably not going anywhere anytime soon. And if they want to buy a house, like we're saying, there's a short window of opportunity now to at least get some incentives out of it.
Well, and I was fortunate enough to be on a call with the chief economist for the National Association of Realtors a week or so ago. And he said, if you're waiting on 3%, that's never coming back in our lifetime. And it's so just let that go. That ship has sailed. And then also that probably going to land somewhere between the 5s and 6s and stay there.
Yeah.
So anybody, and that's whether you're on a resale or a new construction, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that the interest rate's the interest rate. So tell me a little bit about what the timelines look like in new construction going into this spring market.
Right. So this has kind of been an ongoing conversation with the construction half of our industry lately. And it seems like it might be getting better for 2023. There's still a lot up in the air. Supply chain issues have gotten a lot better, as we know. So that isn't
Mhm.
as much of an issue anymore. We're not waiting 2 months for windows to come in like we were through 2021, 2022. But we still have labor issues. So there's still a
Okay.
lot of high demand in the DFW market, especially that has caused labor shortages. So we might still get delays where, okay, brick is coming in. We're not having delays on the brick, but we're having to wait weeks for bricking crews to have room in their schedule to be able to
Wow. To come
come
and
up
put it
and to
on.
brick the house
Yeah.
and put it on. Yeah. So we're still dealing with that. And we'll see what happens in the future.
Yeah.
But hopefully the build times come down a little bit more.
So if you were to purchase today, what kind of build time are you quoting people right now at the time of this recording in mid-February? Because that
Yeah.
can
So
change.
something that I am learning is that depending on the builder's business model, that build time can vary a lot.
Okay.
So for a builder like Pacesetter, where you're able to customize all of your options, you're able to pick everything out. You're able to pick your flooring and your countertops and your cabinets, and you're able to really kind of make it your own.
Uh-huh.
Build times are going to be a little bit longer. If
Right.
you are a builder who says, okay, these are our selections, there are no changes, they're able to do a lot of ordering in bulk and keep things
Sure.
on hand and build a little bit faster. It's more of a production line. So for a builder like that, you may be looking at 6 or 7 months. And then for a
Okay.
builder where there's a little bit more personalization involved, you might be looking at 10 to 14 months.
Okay.
So it really
Okay.
varies from builder to builder, but that's what we're seeing at Pacesetter, where you're able to pick everything out. Is that still like 10 to 14 month timeline?
Okay. All right. And that's important to know, and especially as people are thinking about this. So you're out in Lavon.
Uh-huh.
And I remember when, 10, 15 years ago, actually before longer than that now, if I'm honest, Lavon didn't even have street lights out there. And I don't mean stoplights, I mean like street lights. And now, it's just like Melissa and Anna and all those
Yeah.
communities to the north are growing. And like you just said, in January, you had, sales records for yourself.
Mhm.
And that just shows how many people are moving out there.
Yeah.
So, are you finding that these are kind of first time buyers, or are they people downsizing, or what is that buyer look like right now?
I'd say the majority of my buyers are first time buyers. I'm also getting some move up buyers
Okay.
where they bought their first house, their starter home, and now they're growing their families. They need more space. Maybe they want something a little bit nicer than what they first bought. I'm getting a lot of that as well. And one of the main reasons is because the further out you go, the further your money goes.
Yes.
And so a lot of these younger buyers would love to be in McKinney and Frisco and Plano, but that's just not realistic for their budgets.
Right.
So going a little bit further out to an area that is still developing, your money goes a lot further, and typically your equity goes up a lot
Yeah.
faster as well
Yeah.
as
I was
that
going to
new
say,
development comes in.
because
Mhm.
as more people move out there, then the value of that property goes up more quickly
Yes,
than maybe it will elsewhere.
in a more
So,
established area, yeah.
well, and sometimes we talk about, compromises that we have to make,
Mhm.
and especially in a tight market. It is still a seller's market. I don't care what the media is telling you. We
Yep.
don't have enough homes, particularly
Mhm.
in the DFW area. I can't really speak to some other, areas of the country directly, but in Dallas, we are still in a deficit.
Yep.
And it's going to take years for new construction starts to make up what they didn't build 10 years ago.
Yeah,
I
100%.
mean, that's just, so sometimes when we get started and buying a home, we have to make compromises. Maybe it's the location, maybe it's the size, maybe it's, you know, a one story versus a two story. I don't know. What kind of things how would you speak to that when people are trying to get everything, but maybe they can't have everything.
Yes, because that's one of the big things that I've seen. Like I said, I have a lot of buyers who were looking when interest rates were a lot lower, and they might be looking in the same price point that they were 3 years ago. And when I run the numbers for them and show them what their mortgage payment looks like at 6% instead of 3%.
Is this the year that you're going to stop paying rent? Is this the year that you are going to finally purchase your own home? But where do you start? How do you get your questions answered? Well, I'm Robin McCoy, and I'm a Texas realtor with Keller Williams. Relax, I got this. I have a homebuyers masterclass the first Saturday of every month, and it's free to you, and it's all online. Just text the word masterclass to 214-226-3770, and we'll get you registered and on the path to home ownership.
And when I run the numbers for them and show them what their mortgage payment looks like at 6% instead of 3%, there's a bit of sticker shock there.
Yes, yes.
So your budget doesn't go as far as it did back then. That's just the reality. So you already mentioned it. Location is a big one, where if you're willing to go further out, you're able to get more for your money. Another one is going to be finish out level. So for me personally, I love design. I want a home that has good bones, good base architectural features. But maybe some of those upgrades that the builder's offering, you consider doing aftermarket so that you're not financing that at 6%. You're paying for it out of pocket. Things like plumbing fixtures, light fixtures, even adding like accent walls or beams, these things that give character to a home, put those personal touches on after so that you're not financing them and keep your base price a little bit lower.
And some of it you might be able to actually do yourself, or find those fixtures, or you could paint that wall yourself in 60 days. You don't need to have it all done.
Yeah, put some sweat equity in. I've been in this house for a year, and I've been meaning to do this accent wall behind me for that whole time, and I only recently in the last couple months actually got around to doing it. But
it looks great. It looks great.
So yeah, there's lots of things that you can do yourself after the fact to put character into a new build, and you're not having to finance that over 30 years.
Yeah, at 6%.
Yeah,
and and just don't go put it on your Home Depot card at 20%. Okay, that doesn't make good sense either.
And another thing too to consider is, as a first-time home buyer, you're likely not going to stay in your first home for as long as you think.
Yeah, it's true.
My first home, I'm like, oh, we're going to be here forever. And we sold it after 2 years.
Yeah.
So maybe your first home doesn't need to have room for your 3 future kids. Go ahead and buy that starter home so that you can start building equity, stop wasting money on rent, and then you can take that equity that you've built and use that as leverage to buy a bigger, nicer, closer home in the future.
Well, and that's, going back to kind of just give some perspective, when all those people were putting so much money over and above the list price, and it was mostly on a resale. It wasn't so much on a new construction, but it was because they had equity. They were able to sell that house that they bought 3 years ago at a great price. So they had $100,000 in equity cash they never had. So now they can take 50 of it, go throw it at something else, and still have 50.
Yes. Exactly.
So that's kind of that perspective of where a lot of that money came from. So today, if you go see Megan in Levon and you buy that starter home, 3 years from now, the value will typically, not predicting the future here, will typically be higher and give you that equity, so that either you realize you love the community and where you are, and you just buy up in Levon and in Elevon at the same place, or you move somewhere else. But you've built some of that equity into there.
Exactly.
So Megan, let's kind of go back to new construction as an option for people. So if I'm a buyer and I'm thinking, do I want to, go that new construction route? Do I want to do that? What are some things that I need to know now before I even go visit any communities? what should I guess, prepare myself for?
So, something very similar with new construction to looking for homes on the pre-built market is getting that pre-approval letter before you start.
Okay.
And I know there's a little bit of resistance to that when people are just, oh, we're just casually trying to figure out what
Yeah.
area we want to be in and that sort of thing. But there are a lot of salespeople out there, and I'm not saying that this is right for them to do, but there's a lot of salespeople that will not take you seriously if you have not talked to a lender and been
Yeah.
pre-approved.
That's absolutely
Likely, they're
true.
going to want you to apply with their own lender anyways,
Yes.
because most builders have that as a requirement. But at least you have an idea of the budget that you're working with. Even if you have an idea of what your mortgage payment is going to look like with those terms, all the better.
Yeah.
Because it's really heartbreaking for me and the buyer when they come out and they fall in love with the home and we run the numbers and then they're like, oh, that's way
That's
more than we thought.
it's like $1,000 more than I thought it was gonna be.
Yes, and you
Yeah.
don't wanna start your sales presentation with, "How much can you afford?" You don't wanna have that conversation right out. You
No.
want to find the home that matches their needs, get to know them before you get into the number stuff. So if you, as an educated buyer, already know what you're getting into before you even go out the door, number 1, they'll take you more seriously, and number 2, you're saving yourself some of that heartbreak from all of a sudden finding out that, "Oh, this isn't actually
No.
our budget. This is more than we can afford."
Well, and that is, um, it's I guess a disillusionment too, right? Because you think you're gonna get this, and now
Mhm.
nothing compares to it anymore,
Yeah.
right? So now you're here, and it's just a bummer, is what it is. It just is a bummer. So
There
yes, speaking to a lender so you fully understand the financing before you get started,
Yes. And there's
because
a
of
little bit of a, I guess, myth out there, that I think is around because when you're shopping for a car loan or financing furniture, that every time you apply, that
Mhm.
it dings your credit. And that's true for those things. But for a mortgage, you actually have a 45-day window to shop around with different lenders before that impacts your credit at all.
Yeah. Yes.
So don't be afraid of getting pre-approved, even if you're not ready to buy something right at that moment, because that's important information to arm yourself with.
Well, yeah, and it's again, it's so that you know what you're shopping for, and there's no surprises for anybody.
Yes.
And and again, new construction or resale, the person selling the property wants to know you've got some skin in the game, that
Yes.
you've done some of your legwork before you showed up, because the looky-loos,
Mhm.
you know, we just need to make sure we're doing the right things for everybody.
Yes.
So,
Mm.
what else would you say that, as far as new construction goes, that just really is maybe makes it a good opportunity for people?
Mhm.
Why should they choose a pace setter, new construction, nobody ever lived in it home versus something that's maybe a resale or even another builder? Or because hey, let's be real, you're pace you work for Pacesetter and that's your
Yeah.
favorite, so we're not trying to hide anything here.
Yeah. No, so I'd say there's a lot of advantages to new construction over an older home. Um, Number 1, as far as the contract process goes, builders are offering incentives. So
Okay.
they'll typically give you incentives to work with their lender. They're going to give you, um, it depends on whatever promotion is being run at the time. Right now, we're seeing a lot of promotions that go towards buying your rate down,
Mhm.
that will help pay for closing costs. So these are some things that, especially if maybe you don't have as much saved up and you're a first time buyer, that going with a builder who's offering these incentives can help you get your foot in the door.
Right.
One of the other big advantages to buying new is going to be energy efficiency. So I actually just made a reel about this. I haven't posted it yet. It's in my draft. About utility bills with new construction. So if you're looking at a home, same price, but this older home is going to cost you $100, $200 more per month on your electric bill as opposed to the new home. Well, that right there is $20,000 to $40,000 worth of buying power that you're spending on electric bill instead of mortgage.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's a big advantage to not only saving money, but your home is typically going to be a more comfortable temperature. You don't get those hot rooms, cold rooms as much with new
Like
construction.
mine.
Yeah.
Like mine.
Yes. So you're going to save money on those bills, and your home's going to be more comfortable to live in. New homes are typically quieter as well, with the new low E double pane windows.
Yeah.
Another nice thing, especially as a first time buyer, if you're coming from an apartment where you have maintenance that comes in and fixes everything that goes wrong, and you're not used to keeping up with homeownership. I know my first home was a fixer upper, and stuff goes wrong. The water heater's on the last leg, and you get a slab leak, and then there's a plumbing backup in your drains. And I'm not to say that nothing ever goes wrong with new construction, but at least everything is brand new and everything is under warranty.
Yes.
So that gives you some grace, and you're not having to save as much in emergency funds for when those things ultimately
When
go
the
wrong.
water heater goes
Yes,
and the AC breaks in July, because it will never
exactly.
break in the spring. It will always break when it's
Always in July, 'cause
106.
that's when they're working the hardest,
It's just always will happen.
So if you get a brand new HVAC system that's under warranty, it gives you some of that peace of
It's much better, much
mind.
better. And there is just something to be said for, a home that nobody's lived in before,
Yep.
right? I mean, there is something to be said for that, and it's usually just, I don't know the word, but you can make it your own.
Mhm.
You don't have to undo what somebody else may have done,
It's a blank
certain
slate.
just yes, yes, and some things are definite choices. Some people make some definite design choices that may not be comparable to what you're looking for.
Yeah.
So,
I've lived through a floor to ceiling renovation,
ugh,
like, while we were
yeah,
living there, and
yeah.
yeah, like, even just swapping the plugs out for, white instead of almond and seeing how they wired the old plugs, and you're like, "Why did what were
Yeah.
they thinking?" You
What are
know?
they doing?
Yeah.
Yes, exactly, exactly. So tell me about this new community. Tell me
Yes.
about Elevon and what's going on out there, where it is, and why it's so awesome.
Yeah, so Elevon is at the intersection of 78 and 6. So
Okay.
it's kind of just before 78 takes you up into Farmersville.
Okay.
It's nestled in between Lake Lavon and Lake Roy Hubbard. So if you like outdoor activities, it's a great location for that. We're about 15 to 20 minutes away from a lot of fun stuff to do in the area, like the harbor at Rockwall, um,
Okay.
Firewheel
Mhm.
in Garland.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
So there's stuff that's nearby, but like we were talking about, there's not a ton of development out there. It's still kind of a new baby area. So you're able to still get something at an affordable price. And I think that's
Right.
been one of the big draws is you're able to get a new construction home in the 300s, 400s that isn't itty bitty.
Yeah.
Like you get, like, you might be able
Yeah.
to still get that budget closer into town, but it's going to be small.
Yes, yes. And I think, what people have to understand too is, I mean, it wasn't so very long ago that Melissa and Prosper
Mhm.
had nothing out there. And I was out there just this weekend, and it is nothing but building the grocery stores and the pizza places and the
Mhm.
Home Depots and all of those. So
Yep.
remember, if you build it, they will come. And so you build these communities, and they may not have all the amenities you want right there yet,
Mhm.
but
It's coming.
but it's coming. It's going to come, and you can either be in before everybody gets there and the prices are a little bit lower, or you can wait until after, and then the prices are gonna go up as that development continues to grow.
Be the leader you know you can be. Build your professional network and access education that takes you where you want to go. We are women of all ages and backgrounds. You deserve national recognition and opportunities to build relationships with people you want to work and grow with. Hit the ground running with the Charisma chapter of the American Businesswomen's Association. Meetings each month from 6 to 8:30 p.m. on the fourth Tuesday in Farmers Branch, Texas, and online. Come with us. Experience ABWA for yourself. Go to charisma.abwa.org to learn more.
You can either be in before everybody gets there and the prices are a little bit lower, or you can wait until after, and then the prices are gonna go up as that development continues to grow.
Yep. And not only will it come in a general vague future sense, but in Elevon itself, we have planned mixed use restaurants, shops that
Okay.
are right there off of 78 that have easy access for the community. And there's a lot of lifestyle amenities in Elevon. So we
Okay.
have our main community center, which is going to our amenity center, which is going to have, of course, a pool. You have to have a pool, but
Yeah.
with a tanning ledge, private cabanas, fire pit, splash pad for the kids. In that same area, there's also a playground and event lawn, and that's very close, but not right on top of the lots that I have available for sale right now. There's
Okay.
also a walking trail, and it's not just like concrete out in the baking sun. There's trees.
Yeah, something
There's
well,
trees.
yeah, because a lot of times we see these new construction and, they had to plow everything down to get the
Yeah.
houses in there, and so the landscaping isn't always as mature.
Yes.
Hasn't
So
had time
we
to grow, so
the developer saved a nice big swath of trees and creek that trail winds along.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
then there's actually an outdoor activity circuit. So think of it like a playground for adults. It's
Okay.
around a large pond, and there's little activity stations, like workout stations, outside around this
Oh,
pond.
that's good. That's good.
Yep. There's going to be pickleball, a hammock grove. I don't know what that is, but it sounds
Oh.
amazing. Sign me up.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like a whole area with just hammocks laying there that you can go take naps
Yes.
in. That's what
A
that sounds
formal
like.
garden, picnic areas, like, it's gonna be really, really nice. The HOA out there is actually 155 per month, and usually when people hear that, they go, "Ooh, that's high." But when you list all of the amenities and then also mention that 1 gig fiber optic internet is included in that 155, then people go,
Okay.
"Oh, okay. That
Okay.
that makes
That
sense. I'm
that
willing to pay
covers it.
that." Yeah.
Yeah, because if it covers, because again, what we have to remember is there's the price of the house, and then there's the
Mhm.
cost of living in the house,
Yes.
right? So what are utility? We talked about,
Yep.
the newer construction, they're just built differently than homes built in the 90s and the early 2000s. That means they're just built differently.
Mhm.
And so they are insulated differently. So your energy bills are different. What does it cost? We've got to have internet and cable or streaming or whatever people want to call it these days. So what are the costs of actually living, and
Mhm.
do I need to have a gym? Do I still need my gym membership, or do I have this right here?
Mhm.
um all the restaurants and things that I'm going to want are going to be right at hand, so I'm not going to have to eventually drive 20 minutes to
Mhm.
go somewhere. So there's a lot of things that go into
Yeah.
owning a home that are more than the actual purchase price of the house.
Yes. Tax rate as well. So that's something with Elevon that I was a little bit worried about because the tax rate is higher out there. Phase one is part of a MUD, total
Okay.
tax rate 3.3%. And that was scary when I first heard that. But
Yeah.
obviously, like I said, it's been selling like crazy out there. I think when you are upfront and transparent about it, you help people see what their monthly payment is going to be like with that higher tax rate, and also help guide them to keep their base options a little bit lower. Like if we're looking at two floor plans that are
Mhm.
$15,000 apart, it's like maybe let's take a closer look at the one that's 15,000 lower. Because I know you're saying your max budget is 430, but keep in mind it's a higher tax rate out here. So it's about working with them
Mhm.
and letting them know what that affordability looks like for them and finding the option that strikes the right balance.
Well, and I think I want to say this too. It's important to have a sales representative at a build community that will do that.
Mhm.
Megan will do that. She will guide you. Um, she will work with realtors like myself to help make sure that everything is what the buyer wants and needs.
Mhm.
And we're not making anybody house poor,
Yeah,
and we're not making anybody wait longer than we thought, and we're not doing any of those things, and just really it's important because it's a long process. It's a
yes,
long process, and anything that takes 10 months is a long process, and sometimes communication then becomes the key. Like, "How's
absolutely.
my house coming? How's my house coming?"
And that's why Pacesetter is dedicated to giving weekly construction updates, because that communication is so important.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have to chase down your builder team to figure out what's going on in your house.
Yeah.
So, life happens. There might be a week where somebody's out on vacation and it's like, hey, you know what? Like, we're going to have to get back with you next week. But just even touching base then and letting them know that's what's going on is important. And, going back to how important the sales representative is. And it's unfortunate that it seems like the bar is kind of low. I talk to people all the time that tell me, you are the first person that sat down with us, explained our options, went over pricing over the things that we wanted to add in, that helped us understand the monthly payment, that went out to the home site with us. These are things that a lot of new home sales reps aren't doing. So speaking of like red flags, green flags, like if you walk into a model and they don't even get up out of their chair to greet you, and they won't take the time to sit down with you and go over, what does the process look like? What can I expect? Then it may not be the right builder for you.
Yeah.
Or the right sales rep for you.
Right. It could be, and it's just the same with any other professional that you're dealing with, right? The realtor, the sales representative, the accountant, anybody, just know that all of these people work for you, the buyer. And it is important that, and that, I know I do this in my business and I know you do it in yours, which is why I keep having you back on, because I know you're good with your people, is what is it that they need, and not getting them into something they either don't want or can't afford.
Yeah.
Because that's not good.
Absolutely. So many people are like, okay, I have this spec I need to sell. I'm going to push it on everyone that comes in the door. It's like, okay, but does that fit what they're actually looking for?
It doesn't fit them.
Yes, you need to take that time up front to truly get to know and understand your buyer's needs before you can write that prescription.
Yes. Yeah. Because it's a good way of putting it, because it is very much, it's solving a problem. It's solving a problem, and we can't help solve that problem until we know what the whole diagnosis is.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you don't go to your doctor and be like, yeah, I've been having headaches lately. And they're like, here you go. Here's your medication. You're like,
yeah.
Don't you need more information?
Yeah. Like, is it stress or is it something else? So
yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, is there anything else that we didn't hit on this time that you might want to get across to folks? Of course, we're going to have all of Megan's contact information and all of that in the show notes, so that if you want to make an appointment and go out and see her, you can do so. What else? Anything else before we wrap it up?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at Megan Sells New Homes DFW. Apparently you don't have to add the dots when you search it. You can just say Megan Sells New Homes DFW, and you can find it there. Or you can look for Megan Reeves and find me that way as well. But
she does a great job on Instagram explaining just everything.
There's community updates, there's market updates, there's fun memes. So just a place to follow. I'd love to have you. And thank you so much, Robin, again, for having me on. I love doing this with you.
I do too. I enjoy you, and you are really helping me gain better understanding of new construction, so that I can talk about it with my clients and bring them out to see you when the fit is right. All right. Well, everyone, thanks so much for joining another episode of Relax, I Got This. This time again with Megan Reeves. She's my new home construction expert. And so all of her information is in the show notes. Give me or Megan a call, and we are happy to help. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And we'll see you next time on Relax, I Got This.
Thanks for joining us for Relax, I Got This with Texas Realtor Robin McCoy. Check out all the show notes for contact information on Robin and her guests, and to access your free buyer and seller guides. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a conversation. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time on Relax, I Got This with Robin McCoy.